John Edward Jones was just 26 years old when he entered Nutty Putty Cave with his brother Josh on November 24, 2009. A young newlywed with a baby on the way, John had a bright future ahead of him. He loved exploring caves for recreation, but on that fateful day, his quest for adventure would prove fatal. That morning, John and Josh geared up with helmets and headlamps before descending into the narrow, winding tunnels of the cave. Nutty Putty was a popular spot locals knew for its tight spaces that challenged even experienced spelunkers. But John was up for the thrill, making his way through the infamous pipe crawl before landing in the area known as the Big Slide. The Big Slide was a sloping chute that dropped steeply down through the cave tunnel. John went first, inching his way feet first down the slippery clay slope. He would have had to navigate several small ledges and sharp bends, contorting his 6-foot body through the unforgiving twists and turns. No one knows exactly how, but at some point along this treacherous section, disaster struck. John became stuck upside down in an area called the birth canal at around 9 p.m. He was trapped in an 18-inch wide crevice nearly 150 feet below the surface with his head pointed down. The pressure of the clay vise was so intense that his spine was bent like an upside-down U. He couldn't grab onto anything to pull himself out. His ankles were pressed tightly against the unforgiving rock. Panic flooded over him as he cried out to Josh for help. Rescue attempts began shortly after midnight early Wednesday morning. Rescuers had to crawl through the same narrow gaps as John to reach him. When they arrived, he was still conscious and able to communicate. Medics gave him an IV while rescuers assessed his dire situation. The crevice was too tight to pull him free without breaking his legs. They would have to hover over John to feed him air and water as they strategized. A chip team began working to widen the constriction by chipping away at the rock with jackhammers and pickaxes. Progress was painfully slow in the cramped tunnel where they couldn't swing tools with full force. Rescuers worked in up to 1-hour shifts as the environment was stifling and they faced risks of their own. As light faded, they set up a string of LED lights in the cave ceiling to aid the rescue. By Wednesday evening, John's condition was weakening after nearly 24 hours stuck upside down. His eyes began to swell shut, and his breathing turned more jagged as he went in and out of consciousness. Rescuers were reluctant to give him too much water or IV fluids for fear his body couldn't handle it. He started begging not to be left alone. As Thursday morning approached, rescuers were still chipping away around John. Their progress was hampered by the fragile, clay-like rock that crumbled when tools struck it. A special team began preparing a rescue shaft that would tunnel 55 feet straight down through the ground above John. If he held on a little longer, they believed they could reach him this way. But time was running out. By 3 a.m. Thursday morning, John had been trapped for over 26 hours. He was fading in and out, asking rescue teams to make sure he was given a Mormon blessing. As 6 a.m. neared, John became unresponsive. His vital signs plummeted as his heart gave out. Just before dawn at around 6:30 a.m., doctors gave the shattering news John Jones had passed away. Rescuers made the excruciating call to cease rescue efforts and focus on recovery. Widening the crevice enough to pull John's body free would have risked collapsing the entire cave ceiling down on all of them. The heartbreaking decision was made to seal John's body in his underground tomb. It took several hours for crews to back out of the cave safely. When they emerged into blinding sunlight and crisp air, rescuers were battered, sleepless and defeated. Many were grief-stricken over losing John. They had poured every ounce of know-how, muscle and grit they had into the rescue. For all their arduous work chipping at stone, they had only managed to widen the gap an inch in nearly 2 days. The rock had refused to relinquish its vice-like grip on John. The tragic loss reverberated beyond his family to shake the entire Utah caving community. As risk-takers themselves, they understood John's hunger to pit himself against the treachery of the subterranean world. His death had been grueling, the details chilling. The heroics of the rescue teams were heartbreaking, battling valiantly for John's deliverance only to be dangerously close, yet so far away till the end. In the months that followed, John's wife Emily gave birth to their daughter. And after 130 days of lingering in suspended silence, Nutty Putty Cave was closed indefinitely. A final tribute stands at the gated entrance where visitors have left flowers, signs and rock cairns in John's memory. The ancient underground fortress had proven mightier than man, holding John Jones prisoner in the dark till his final breath. While his spirit survived to soar unfettered into the heavens, the cave still clutches his earthly body 600 feet below. For over a decade now, John's remains have rested eternally, still interred not in soil but solid stone.